Hello and welcome back to another episode of this week's watches. And this week, like every week, I say it every time, we have got an incredible variety for you guys and girls, from a very rarely seen, and probably a lot of you have never even knew it existed, a solid gold Tag Heuer Monaco, to a rose gold Cartier tank, to an incredible JLC, some Tudors, a Parmigiani, a Ming, Longines, and then a range of vintage watches over there at the front with 3 Wittnauers and a vintage Longines as well. I mean, this is the kind of variety we aim to bring. Obviously, last week was insane with a 5039J Patek Perpetual calendar, all the way to a watch that literally just tells the tide from the 1970s. That was a fun drop. So I'm recording this directly after recording the last drop because, as you guys are probably aware from when you're watching this, I've been on holiday for about a week, which I have not done in probably a couple of years, taking an actual whole week out of work for a holiday. So hopefully I am coming back refreshed, my future self. As of the time you're watching this video, we'll be back on Monday. So yeah, I appreciate and I want to say thank you, because I suspect you've all been amazing and respected my time and not tried to bombard me, like my personal phone, with phone calls and messages. So I do appreciate it. But yeah, so that's why if you're watching this video and you think I look exactly the same as I looked last week, like identical, that is the reason. However, I am not wearing the same watch. I've actually thrown this watch on. This is a awesome Gerald Genta retrograde minutes jumping hour. Incredible with the salmon dial, and what makes this one even more special is it has its box and paperwork, which is very rarely seen for any Gerald Gentas really. So yeah, a really gorgeous watch on its original strap and buckle, and this is coming to the website soon, so keep an eye out. I wanted to throw it on to give you a little sneak peek. It could already be gone by this point because, as I say, I'm recording this a week and a half in advance, so I do apologize if this or any of the watches on the table are already sold out. It's just the nature of the game. Make sure you're following on Instagram and on our WhatsApp broadcast list. Keep an eye on all of that stuff for any details, really. And obviously, if you see a watch you like, get in contact and get it before it ever makes this point of hitting the website. So without any further ado, I think I've pretty much rambled and said everything. Let's get on to what you're here to see, which is the watches. And we're going to start with the incredible full 18-karat yellow gold Tag Heuer Monaco. Let's take a closer look at this one. So starting off with this full chunk of yellow gold, this is the Tag Heuer Monaco in 18-karat yellow gold, in fantastic condition. As you can see, it looks truly amazing. Really, really beautiful. Solid gold case back as well, paired on its original strap with 18-karat gold buckle. It did come on the black or the brown. This one is paired on the brown, and this one is from November 2019. Now the watch is actually from many years prior to that. However, this was sold as new old stock from a Tag Heuer boutique to the customer who we are selling this for. So the watch is much older than that. It is circa sort of 2000s, mid 2000s I would say, but it was sold in November 2019 as a new old stock that was sort of sat in the warehouse of Tag Heuer, and they decided they would send it to one of the boutiques and offer it to very few exclusive customers, and one of those happens to be the person who picked it up. So, interesting little backstory. Now, the reference to this one is the CW5140, and inside is the automatic caliber 17, which is a Tag Heuer caliber that they've used for many, many years. But the real beauty of this is the fact it is, if I'm not mistaken, the only solid gold Tag Heuer Monaco, which I find absolutely fascinating. So this does come with its box and receipt. As I say, no official paperwork, unfortunately, because it was sold as new old stock. They didn't provide the card, or the card was long gone, or never produced. You never know. But yeah, a very interesting watch. Again, one for those of you out there who really like the Monaco and want a solid gold one. There really isn't a lot of option beyond this. Well, there isn't any option beyond this, so this is the one you've got to look at. Now, this is one I would recommend coming in to see, because you can never portray just how heavy this watch is and how incredible that tone of gold is, and how well the Tag Heuer Monaco wears. So let's show on wrist and to all dimensions. And here it is on my 7-inch wrist. As you can see, it wears very, very well. So what you're looking at right here is 38.5mm by 46.5mm lug to lug, only 12.5mm thick, and 22mm on the lugs right there. So endless options to swap this out onto a different strap. As always, with gold, brown suede is my go-to, but what a cool looking watch. So go check this one out on the website today. From there, let's go over to the JLC. This is an absolutely incredible, ultra thin. Yeah, you guys and girls are going to love this. The blue is spectacular. One to definitely see in person. If you can come to the office to take a look at this one, I would recommend you do, because this blue is going to blow you away. So let's take a closer look. Next up, what you're looking at here is a gorgeous JLC or Jaeger-LeCoultre, however you want to say it. JLC ultra thin, master ultra thin reserve de marche, with the power reserve, the date, and the sub-seconds all in their ultra thin line, which, as you can see, is, so to no surprise, ultra thin. Absolute gorgeous, vibrant blue. I wouldn't even know what you call that. Some sort of galvanic blue. Really beautiful. The reference to this one is the Q13784880. And as you flip it over, you're presented with something that is beautiful, which is no surprise from JLC. This is the JLC caliber 938/1. This watch does compared on its original strap, original deployment, which I've taken off to be able to open it up and show you guys like this. And this watch is from February 2018 with its box and paperwork. And it is in fantastic condition. It's worn, but it's worn fairly, so you can get this watch, enjoy it yourself, not have to worry. Obviously, if you would like it polished, let us know. We can get that done for you as well. But a gorgeous example and a perfect option for anyone looking for a slightly more complicated JLC that still has all the simplicity and the beauty that you expect from JLC, but done in a very, very elegant package. And the price, I mean, when you look at what this retails for and what we're asking for it, it blows my mind, the value that you can pick up pre-owned JLC for. And it just doesn't really make a lot of sense in today's market that this is by far better than most things in its price point. There's no question about it. I'm talking from a hype perspective, you know, your core Rolexes and all that sort of stuff. This just makes far more sense to me. But again, it's aesthetics, and it's also hype, and it's also brand recognition, maybe all this different stuff. But for me, this is where it's at. So let's show it on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. This looks perfectly at home. So what you're looking at is 39mm by 46mm lug to lug, only 9.5mm thick, which for a power reserve and date complication in the ultra thin case, that is perfect. And 21mm lugs, a little awkward on that lug length, but again, there are options. But this strap pairing works so well with it. It's a very dark black, which almost has a blue tint to it, so it works with a dial. But go check it out on the website today. From there to the rose gold, 18 karat rose gold, pink gold, whatever you want to call it, Cartier tank, extra large automatic with the pin buckle in 18 karat rose gold as well. A gorgeous watch. Let's take a closer look. Next up is the Cartier Tank XL in 18 karat rose gold. Really beautiful, and this is the automatic with date and a second hand. And one thing I find very interesting that Cartier provide is a slightly more affordable alternative with a stainless steel back. So this is all correct. It's all Cartier. Don't worry, this is correct. They have 18 karat gold, which you can see hallmarked, if I can get it in focus, on the inside of the lugs, featured with a stainless steel case. And original 18 karat gold pin buckle. So this really brings the price down, because that is a lot of gold when you consider the case back and how much extra weight and gold that adds when you don't really need it. It goes on the case back, right? It's against your skin. You're never going to see it. So I actually find that quite interesting. I don't really know of any other brands that offer that. If you do, let me know down in the comments. So the reference to this one is the W5200026. This one's from December 2020 with its box and paperwork. And inside, underneath this case back, is the automatic caliber, Cartier caliber 1847MC. And as you can see, original 18 karat rose gold crown with the blue cabochon. It looks fantastic, and I am a huge fan of these 18 karat gold Cartier buckles. I think they look fantastic. It's paired on this gorgeous strap as well, which really complements the watch beautifully. I would not hesitate when it comes to picking up this watch if you're after a gold Cartier tank. Anyway, let's show it on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. Now, do I prefer the smaller, more classic sizing? Sure. But saying that, this actually looks, I think this looks better on my wrist. I think it looks more suited, which is interesting. So what you're looking at here is 30.5mm by 40.5mm lug to lug, 7.5mm thick, and 23mm on the lugs. Again, slightly awkward on that lug length, but there are options out there. But again, it works so well with this. This is going to look good with a suit, with t-shirt and jeans, like whatever you want to wear this with, go for it. So go check it out on the website today. From there, let's go over to a brand I know very well, but have actually not had the privilege of stocking, and that is Parmigiani. This is the Tonda chronograph, a gorgeous, incredibly well-made watch. That really is surprising, and especially when you consider what these are priced at compared to their retail, I think these are incredible on the pre-owned market, and I would highly recommend anyone looking for an interesting chrono to pick this up. So let's take a closer look. So we have an interesting one here. Our first Parmigiani we have stocked. Now, I've been a fan of the brand. I like what they do. Some of their older models are truly spectacular, but this is very much in their modern wheelhouse, which I find very fascinating. This is the Tonda Metrograph in black with the lume on the subdials, which glows so bright once it's charged. It's incredible. I'm not going to bore you with the reference to this one because it is incredibly long, so head over to the website if you want to see that. But it comes paired on its original bracelet integrated style, which really works with the shape of the case. It's very unusual, very different. It's not something you see every day, that's for sure, especially with the shape of those lugs. I mean, this is truly a unique design from Parmigiani. You've got obviously the signed crown right there, the beautiful profile of the pushers, a exhibition caseback showing a wonderfully finished movement. And what you're looking at is the Parmigiani caliber PF315. Now this watch is from February 2018 with its box and papers and spare links. So you can rest assured you're getting yourself a great watch and saving yourself a nice chunk of money on retail. And again, Parmigiani is an interesting brand, one well worth researching and reading into, checking out our listing on the website. And interestingly, the King of England wears a Parmigiani. Granted, a slightly older gold chronograph, but still kind of cool. So let's show it on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go on wrist. Now don't be afraid about how sort of brutalist almost in design this watch looks and how big it looks, because it is so comfortable on the wrist and it actually looks very, very good. What you're looking at is 40.5mm by 45.5mm lug to lug, only 11.5mm thick and 23mm on the lugs coming down to quite a heavy taper towards the clasp. It's comfortable, it looks good, and you know what, I think on wrist, it looks far better than it does just off wrist, because it looks like it would be quite an unusual case shape, quite an unusual fit and finish. But once you've got it on wrist, it actually hugs the wrist perfectly. All of this was done for a reason. The design is thought about here. So go check it out on the website today. From there, let's go over to a Ming 1703 GMT in black. I've always been a big fan of this watch. We've had it a couple of times over the years. I really don't think you can go wrong when it comes to a titanium bracelet GMT watch that isn't going to break the bank, especially the price we've got this at. This is priced to fly, so go check it out and let's take a closer look. So it's time for more Ming. What you're looking at here is the Ming 1703 GMT in the black, sort of slate black dial, which looks fantastic. You've got the GMT hand on the inside, so it's not a protruding extra hand, which for Ming with simplicity is what they do. You've got that really gorgeous loomed outside ring, which glows very, very nicely, and the iconic Ming case and shape of lugs as well with their crown. Screw down case back housing the automatic Solita SW330-1, and this watch is from March 2018 with its box and papers featuring its titanium case and bracelet, spare links included of course, and it just looks fantastic. I've always been a big fan of this Ming. I think this case shape, this case size works so well on a variety of wrist sizes, and it just looks quintessential Ming. I think they've really developed their own branding, their own design, their own iconography, if you can call it that, and I think it just works. It really, really works. So let's show this on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. It looks perfect. Again, the really short lug to lug really draws the watch in, and when paired on a bracelet, it looks truly fantastic in my opinion. So this is 38mm by 43.5mm lug to lug, 9.5mm thick and 20mm on the lugs. They have quite a significant curve, so if you can match that or get a Ming strap or John Rousseau, they do some fantastic options. Do check those out. So go check it out on the website today. From there, let's switch gears over to the Tudors, and we're going to start with the Tudor Pelagos left-hand drive. as I pick it up and lift it the wrong way typically. Really great watch. I think if you're after a titanium diver, something that's a bit different, speaks a bit differently, and looks fantastic, this is definitely a go-to. So let's take a closer look. So Tudor Pelagos time, and after the release of the 39, it's been very interesting to see how the market has reacted to the older Pelagos, and specifically the left-hand drive model. I am going to be following it closely over the next sort of year or so because I think it's going to be a bit interesting. But anyway, so this is the left-hand drive reference 25610TNL, and what left-hand drive stands for, or LHD, is the fact the crown is on the left, which you've no doubt noticed by now, which means everything is sort of backwards in terms of how you unscrew, how you wind, and how you screw back down. So do get used to that if you have this watch. You have a roulette date wheel, which is black and red. You have red line on the text with Pelagos, and you have this sort of almost faux patina on the dial and indices, which looks truly amazing against the slightly duller colour of titanium against steel. There definitely is a colour difference. Let me see if you can noticeably see that. I think you can. I think you can see how much more vibrant stainless steel is against titanium, which makes titanium really interesting in my opinion. It's a lighter metal, it's a harder metal, and it's a duller metal, so it really brings that tall watch feel really sort of to the forefront. It features one of their bracelets which does have adjustments, so you can lock it down in this position and move it across. If I can pull it down, so you have these three positions where it locks in and stays in place, and then on the furthest one where you have this clear advancing size, this is sprung loaded. So once you're in this position, it's on a spring, meaning if you have to get it over a wetsuit and it's tight against there, it will stay there, and as you adjust by coming up and down in terms of diving, I don't dive, so do forgive my explanations, this will adjust with you, which is fascinating. And you also still have a humongous dive extension right there. It obviously comes with its original rubber straps as well, which feature a dive extension part, so do keep that in mind. Inside, beaten away behind, and this is part of the numbered edition, so early example. Inside is the automatic Tudor caliber MT5612 LHD, and this one's from November 2016 with its box and paperwork, and this is priced to fly. So yeah, they show on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist, plenty of adjustment room, which is good. It does take a second to get used to the fact the crown is on this side, which for me is a bit, it takes a minute for sure. But what you're looking at is 42mm by 49.5mm lug to lug, only 14mm thick, and 22mm on the lugs as well, so endless options. As I say, it does come with its rubber strap, so you can enjoy it on that as well. But go check this one out on the website today. From there over to what is considered a classic now, I guess, the Tudor Black Bay GMT. I think we're all waiting with bated breath to see if they do this in the 58. I assume they will. Who knows when that time will come though, and for those of you who like a slightly bigger watch, this is going to be the go-to anyway. So let's take a close look at the GMT. So Tudor Black Bay GMT time, and what you're looking at here is the reference 79830RB, and this one is from July 2021 with its box and paperwork and all links as well. It is in worn condition, but it's fair. Again, if you want it looking brand new, we can get that done for you. Beating away behind that case back is the automatic Tudor caliber caliber 5652. Yeah, the GMT, there's not an awful lot to say about it. You've got this Pepsi bezel, which is done in aluminium, so it gives a much more vintage appeal, vintage style. Everything about this feels more true to an early Rolex GMT than the new Rolex GMTs do, and I think that was the point, you know, it's part of like the heritage style that Tudor are going for. No crown guards, again, that really lends itself to that period, the very early period of the GMT. I think it looks fantastic. It's a good looking watch. It wears very well, especially now I have a slightly bigger wrist than I used to, because it is on the thicker side and the bigger side. And I'll be interested to see how they execute this in a 58 case eventually, because they're going to do it. It's going to happen. But I think they're capitalizing on the amount of people that still like this watch and still haven't bought one from retail yet. So yeah, it's cool. But let's show it on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. You can see it is, as I say, on the bigger and slightly thicker side, but it's still very comfortable. And I have given one of these a prolonged period on the wrist to actually truly get a feel for how it wears, and it still wears really well. What you're looking at is 41mm by 51mm lug to lug, 15mm thick, and 22mm on the lugs. So endless options again, but go check this one out on the website today. Now on to Longines. We're going to go over to one we know very well. This is the Heritage Military Longines that was in partnership and created with our friend Vintage Longines, Matt, who did a great job. So let's take a closer look at this watch. So the Longines Heritage Military Automatic, the watch that features a unique dial. So every dial is slightly different because I believe it's some sort of paint splatter. I could be wrong on that, but each one is unique, which is kind of cool. So the reference to this one is the L2.819.4.93.2 in good old-fashioned Longines long references. And this one's from March 2019. It does come with its original bigger special box and strap as well, because it comes on the Longines NATO, which is very nice. But you've got a strap option as well, which is really nice. Longines NATO, very military style with the engravings. Nice simple case back as well. Again, done very organically, really, to the original. Now, this watch is definitely like the original, but done to today's standards and specs and sizes. So rather than a manually wound movement like the original was, this is now an automatic with the Longines caliber L888, which obviously features no date. And it's slightly bigger at 38.5mm. So this watch, some people really love it and some people not so much, because they are such core die-hard fans of the original. I stand somewhere in between. I think if you want the smaller original size, let me source you an original one. Whereas if you are after something modern you can wear without worrying, this is the one you should be going for. But that's being said, let's show it on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. It looks bloody good, that's for sure. So what you're looking at is 38.5mm by 47mm lug to lug, 11mm thick and 19mm on the lugs. A little bit awkward, but you are pairing with the Longines NATO and a strap as well, so there's options there. So go check out this awesome watch on the website today. From there to another one from the Heritage range. I think the Longines Heritage range is fantastic. This is the 1945 Heritage. So let's take a closer look at this awesome watch. Next up, the Longines Heritage 1945 Automatic, featuring a 40mm case. And yeah, this is a cool watch with a silver dial that, for some reason, in certain lights, just because of the way they've done it, it looks almost salmon. It's kind of amazing. We've got the light piercing through right now, which hopefully isn't coming across too harsh, but you can see that dial really plays with the light and is truly spectacular. Really tiny little sub-dial of seconds right there, and a lot of space on the dial, which you're either going to love or you're really going to dislike. But the reference to this one is the L2.813.4.660.0, sorry. I probably butchered that. It's all on the website. You can see it there. This one's from February 2019. It does come with its box and paperwork. It's paired on its original Longines suede strap, which looks fantastic. I really like it, especially on this watch. I think it looks at home. So inside is the automatic Longines caliber L609. Again, automatic, no date, sub-seconds, so slightly different to the last one. I do wish it was manually wound personally. I think it would just make it that smidge thinner. And some people really dislike the size of this. Now, one thing I find interesting is the size isn't too big. It's not unwearable for most people. However, because it is pretty much all dial, it makes it look so much bigger than what it is. So that's something that really comes across in the photos. However, in person, once you've got it on wrist, it is a different story. So let's show it on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. Is it a big watch? Sure. It's definitely not a small watch. So you have got to keep that in mind, but it still wears really well. So what you're looking at is 40mm by 50.5mm lug to lug, 11.5mm thick and 20mm lugs, so endless options on the strap. And again, this is one good looking watch. If you're after vintage heritage style, but with all the modern bells and whistles and size, this is the watch for you. So go check it out on the website today. Now let's go from the heritage range to something that is truly vintage with this Longines Silver Arrow. I've always been a big fan of these, and this one has incredible patina, which just looks so good against this suede strap. You guys and girls know I like my suede strap, so let's take a closer look at this one. So after looking at the heritage range of Longines, let's actually go to a true vintage Longines with this gorgeous Silver Arrow from 1956. Yes, you heard that right, 56, mid-50s, and look at it. It looks incredible. Yes, you've got that gorgeous patina, those iconic Silver Arrow indices and hands. I think this looks truly stunning, and paired on this suede strap, it looks at home. You've got the big date right there. Original Longines crown, which is really nice, and nice original caseback as well. Screw down. featuring the manually wound Longines caliber 23ZSD, a very reliable Longines movement that has received a nice full service and ready to go. Reference to this one is the 9104-4, and the serial number is what allows you to get the age of this Longines, which puts it in 1956, as I said. If you're after a vintage Longines, something that wears really well. It's slightly on the smaller side. We'll talk dimensions in a second, but don't be put off by that. It really is a charming vintage watch. This ticks all the boxes. So let's show on wrist and talk dimensions. Here we go, paired on my 7-inch wrist. That is one good looking watch. So what you're looking at is 33.5mm by 43.5mm lug to lug, only 10.5mm thick and 18mm lugs. So if for some strange reason you're not a fan of the brown suede, you can swap it out for whatever you like. But do give brown suede a go. It's my favorite strap for a reason. So go check it out on the website today. Now we're getting on to Wittnauer. So for those of you who missed the last video and you saw the state of the collection, you'll recognize those three as my wife's watches, and you'll be like, why on earth is she selling them? Well, we had the opportunity to buy a Black Bay 58 Blue at a very good price, so we snapped it up, and that is in her collection now. I'm sure I'll steal it from time to time. But it meant a couple of things had to go, and unfortunately these are hitting the block along with the Seiko from the last drop. But I think for her, she's still got her Chrono, which is her beloved Wittnauer, I think the one she loves the most by far. So these going, I'm sad to see them go, I think more than her, because she is very excited about the Black Bay Blue. But anyway, let's get on to the watches. So we're going to start with the Skin Diver. This is absolutely gorgeous. I got it her for Christmas. I think this is probably one of the most attractive Wittnauers, other than the Chrono she has, that there is. I think it's gorgeous, especially at the price point. I don't think this is going to last long. Let's take a closer look. So Wittnauer Geneve Skin Diver. One I'm going to be very sad to see go. This is absolutely gorgeous. So what you're looking at here is a circa 1960s Skin Diver, the reference C11KS4000, and inside behind this caseback is a manually wound Wittnauer caliber C1KS, a very reliable movement by Wittnauer. You have a friction fit bezel, which means it's free rotating. It's not a click bezel. This probably would have been originally filled in black, and there's still remnants where it was, but some of it has come out. We could probably get that filled in again for you. It's quite a sort of it's an interesting way that watchmakers actually do it. They usually use like nail varnish or something like that, or like ink. So that's kind of how it was done originally. Obviously not nail varnish, but some sort of material like that. But the highlights of this watch is that dial, those original lume plots and hands that are patinaed so perfectly. It very rarely happens like this, and the dial is so clean. Yeah, one I'm going to be sad to see go for sure. You've got a date over there at 3 o'clock as well. Let's show this one on wrist and talk dimensions. And this is where the watch just gets better and better. This is 37.5mm, which for a 1960s Skin Diver is fantastic. 47mm lug to lug with those nice straight lugs, 11.5mm thick and 20mm lugs, so endless options on a strap as well. You could probably pair it on a nice mesh bracelet, that would look really cool. But we paired it on this vintage style blacky brown leather strap, which will patina and age and crack, which I think looks really, really cool, and will go with the age of the watch nicely. So go check this one out on the website today. Next, let's go over to a 1960s Wittnauer with sort of like a fancy dial. I love this. I think if you can find a nice clean Wittnauer example, you're off to the races, because the prices on these are so damn good, and the design and everything is on par with any other brand of the same period that really were pushing boundaries, and I think done just as well, if not better, with their own movements for the most part. So let's take a closer look at this one. Another gorgeous looking Wittnauer. This is the Wittnauer automatic fancy dial, as I've called it, because look at those indices and the lume on the inside of the dial rather than sort of towards the outskirts of the dial, and they're just beautifully puffy, and the colour of them is fantastic. Nice original hands. This one features original Wittnauer signed crown, nice screw down case back, and inside this is an automatic Wittnauer caliber C11SR, and again this one's from 1960s. The reference to this one is a 6494, and it's just fantastic. It's nice case size, nice twisted lugs. This is a more affordable Omega Seamaster really, and done beautifully well, and I just think the fonts chosen for automatic, the lume on the inside, the way the indices are cut, the shape of the case, everything about this just speaks quality. And again, for a vintage collector, it's fantastic. We paired it on this ostrich style strap, which I think looks really cool. But yeah, they show on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go. What a charming little watch. This is 34mm by 40mm lug to lug, only 10mm thick and 18mm lugs. So endless options to swap out this ostrich style if you're not a fan, but I would say definitely give it a go because the tone of that and the loom on the indices is perfect. So check this one out on the website today. And last but by no means least, one of the coolest watches on the table just because of how the design looks. This is a gorgeous Wittnauer Geneve square dial Art Deco. I love this watch. Again, perfect for him or for her. Christmas coming up, maybe treat your significant other to this watch and steal it yourself from time to time. That's certainly what I did with this watch when my wife took it. So let's take a closer look. So finishing off with the Wittnauer Geneve Art Deco style square case. Really, really cool dial. Really simple, to be honest, silver dial, but you've got those nice indices and the batons where they're textured and they've got a nice finish to them. Clean, simple hands. It doesn't really get much better than this. This is Wittnauer at its core with a quirky case and a round dial. I just think that contrast of square and circle is really cool. You've got a monocoque case, meaning everything has to come out the front. You can't get through the case back, so the crystal has to come out and then everything comes out the front. But being away inside this one is the manually wound Wittnauer caliber 5, and the reference to this one is the 8008, and again circa 1960s. It's just a good looking watch, and again priced to fly if you're into your vintage Wittnauers, which as you know I certainly am. So let's show it on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. This is very much of its time, but still looks so good today. This is 30mm by 37mm lug to lug, only 9mm thick and 19mm on the lug. So slightly awkward on the lug length, but there certainly are options out there. So go check out this watch on the website today. So there you have it, guys and girls. That is this week's drop. Incredible variety, a lot of watches, so I do apologise if it's a slightly longer video. It's been a lot of fun shooting it. This is definitely the case. Shooting 2 drop videos back to back is quite an endeavour. There's a lot of talking about watches, so I do apologise if towards the end maybe I sound less energetic. But yes, ploughing through before I go on holiday, so that way you guys and girls get your content as usual and everything just feels as normal. Even though I'm not here, I'm hopefully sat under a canopy because it's going to be raining no doubt non-stop. That's just the nature of Wales, with a cigar in hand and a whiskey in the other, enjoying myself, and obviously my daughter nearby is waving at me or something. So hopefully it's going to be a lot of fun. I appreciate you giving me the time to go do that and the ability to go do that. So thank you all very much, and we'll see you all again next time. Take care.